Stonehenge stands as one of humanity's most enduring mysteries, a megalithic monument that has captivated our imagination for centuries. But what if everything we thought we knew about this ancient wonder was fundamentally wrong? Recent discoveries have completely upended our understanding of Stonehenge, revealing a story far more complex and fascinating than previously believed. For generations, archaeologists and historians have told us that Stonehenge was primarily a celestial calendar, a primitive observatory built by local tribes to track the movements of the sun and stars. The narrative was neat, tidy, and utterly incomplete. The truth, as it turns out, is far more revolutionary. In 2018, a groundbreaking study published in the Journal of Archaeological Science sent shockwaves through the academic community. Using cutting-edge geochemical analysis, researchers discovered that the altar stone, the massive 6-ton centerpiece of Stonehenge, didn't originate from Wales as long believed. Instead, it came from the Scottish Highlands, over 400 miles away. This wasn't just a minor correction to the archaeological record. It was a complete paradigm shift that forces us to reconsider everything about Stonehenge's purpose and the society that built it. Think about what this means. 5,000 years ago, without wheels, metal tools, or even horses for transportation, our ancestors somehow transported a 6-ton slab of sandstone across mountains, forests, and rivers for hundreds of miles. The sheer logistics of such an undertaking boggle the mind. But more importantly, it raises a profound question. Why? Why would Neolithic people expend such extraordinary effort to bring this specific stone from such a distant location? The answer, according to Dr. Eleanor Hastings of the University of Edinburgh, lies not in astronomy, but in politics. What we're seeing at Stonehenge isn't just a calendar or a temple, she explains. It's essentially a Neolithic peace treaty written in stone. The period around 3000 BCE was one of tremendous cultural upheaval in Britain. The original farming communities who had inhabited the island for thousands of years were facing an influx of new people, the so-called Beaker folk, migrating from continental Europe. Archaeological evidence shows these two populations had distinctly different cultural practices, from pottery styles to burial customs. In many regions, this led to conflict and competition for resources. But Stonehenge tells a different story, one of integration and cooperation rather than conquest. The monument's construction spans several distinct phases over approximately 1,500 years. The earliest structure, dating to around 3000 BCE, was a simple circular bank and ditch with a ring of timber posts. But around 2500 BCE, something remarkable happened. The monument underwent a dramatic transformation with the arrival of the bluestones, smaller stones weighing up to 4 tons each, transported from the Preseli Hills in Wales, some 140 miles away. For decades, archaeologists assumed the altar stone shared this Welsh origin. But the 2018 discovery of its Scottish provenance completely changes our understanding of what was happening. It suggests that Stonehenge wasn't built by a single cultural group, but represented a massive collaborative effort between different populations across Britain. Dr. James Pritchard of University College London puts it this way: imagine Stonehenge as a physical manifestation of a grand political alliance. Different groups contributing sacred stones from their ancestral territories, coming together to create something greater than any one community could achieve alone. This wasn't just monument building, it was nation building in its most primitive form. The timing is particularly significant. The period around 2500 BCE coincides with the introduction of metallurgy to Britain and increased trade with continental Europe. Society was changing rapidly, and traditional ways of life were being disrupted. In this context, Stonehenge may have served as an anchor of stability, a physical reminder of shared identity and cooperation during turbulent times. But the altar stone's Scottish origin adds another layer to this story. Scotland was home to some of Britain's earliest farming communities, while the Beaker folk first established themselves in southern England. By incorporating a sacred stone from the far north, the builders of Stonehenge weren't just creating a local monument, they were symbolically uniting the entire island. The transportation of these massive stones represents an almost unimaginable feat of engineering and human cooperation. Recent experimental archaeology has demonstrated that moving a multi-ton stone required teams of at least 20 people working in coordinated fashion. Multiply that by dozens of stones, and you're looking at hundreds or even thousands of individuals involved in the project. The journey itself would have been epic. From the Scottish Highlands, the altar stone would have been dragged on wooden sledges across rugged terrain, possibly floated down rivers on rafts during part of the journey, and then hauled overland again to reach Salisbury Plain. The entire process might have taken years, with different communities responsible for different legs of the journey. This wasn't just backbreaking labor, it was a pilgrimage. Each mile traveled, each obstacle overcome, added to the stone's sacred significance. By the time it reached its final destination, the altar stone had been imbued with the collective effort and devotion of countless individuals across diverse communities. Once at Stonehenge, the altar stone was positioned with remarkable precision. It was laid flat, unlike the standing stones that form the famous circles, and aligned along the solstice axis. During the winter solstice sunset, the dying light would have illuminated this stone with a reddish glow, creating a dramatic focal point for ceremonial activities. The stone's distinctive geology, a micaceous sandstone unlike any other at the site, would have made it immediately recognizable to visitors. Those who came from Scotland would have seen a piece of their homeland incorporated into this grand monument, a tangible symbol that they belonged to something larger than their local community. This new understanding of Stonehenge challenges the popular notion that ancient societies were primitive or unsophisticated. The level of social organization required to conceptualize, coordinate, and execute such a project speaks to a highly developed political system. These weren't simple tribal chiefdoms, but complex societies capable of mobilizing resources on a scale previously thought impossible for Neolithic people. The implications extend beyond archaeology into how we understand the development of human civilization. Stonehenge suggests that the foundations of national identity and political alliance building may be far older than we've assumed. Before written treaties, before formal borders, our ancestors were finding ways to transcend local differences and forge broader connections. But the story doesn't end with the monument's completion. Isotope analysis of human remains found near Stonehenge reveals something equally fascinating. The people buried there came from all over Britain. Some grew up in Wales, others in Scotland, and still others in southern England. Stonehenge wasn't just built by a diverse coalition. It continued to serve as a gathering place for people from across the island for generations afterward. These gatherings weren't just religious ceremonies, but likely included feasting, trading, matchmaking, and conflict resolution. All the elements needed to maintain the social bonds between geographically distant communities. In essence, Stonehenge functioned as Britain's first parliament, a neutral ground where different groups could come together to reinforce their connections. The evidence for these gatherings is abundant. Excavations at Durrington Walls, a large settlement near Stonehenge, have uncovered the remains of massive feasts. Analysis of animal bones shows pigs and cattle brought from different regions of Britain, suggesting various communities contributed to these communal meals. Pottery styles from diverse traditions appear side by side, indicating people from different cultural backgrounds eating together. This pattern of cooperation and integration continued for centuries, even as new waves of migration and cultural change swept across Britain. The monument was repeatedly modified and enhanced, with the massive sarsen stones, each weighing around 25 tons, added around 2500 BCE. These local stones, sourced from about 15 miles away, represented the contribution of the communities nearest to Stonehenge itself. The final arrangement, with its precisely engineered trilithons and carefully aligned stones, represents the culmination of over 1,000 years of collaborative effort. It stands as testimony to what humans can achieve when they work together across cultural and geographical boundaries. But like all political alliances, the one centered on Stonehenge eventually fractured. Around 1500 BCE, the monument fell into disuse. New cultural influences, changing religious practices, and shifting power centers led people to abandon the old ways. The knowledge of what Stonehenge truly meant and how it functioned gradually faded from memory, leaving behind only the silent stones. For thousands of years afterward, Stonehenge stood as an enigma on the landscape. Romans, Saxons, and medieval Christians all developed their own theories about its origins, attributing it variously to giants, wizards, or the devil himself. By the time systematic archaeological investigation began in the modern era, the true story of Stonehenge had been lost to time. This is what makes the recent discoveries so remarkable. Using technologies unavailable to previous generations of researchers, we're finally piecing together the real story of Stonehenge, not as a primitive calendar or the work of a single community, but as a sophisticated political statement created through unprecedented cooperation. The implications for our understanding of human history are profound. If Neolithic people could overcome their differences to create something as magnificent as Stonehenge, perhaps our capacity for cooperation is more deeply rooted than our tendency toward conflict. Perhaps the tribalism that seems so natural to us is actually a more recent development than our ability to forge connections across boundaries. As we face modern challenges that transcend national borders, climate change, pandemic diseases, resource depletion, there may be wisdom to be gained from the builders of Stonehenge. They understood something fundamental, that by contributing something precious from their own territories to a shared project, they could create something greater than any one group could achieve alone. The altar stone from Scotland, the blue stones from Wales, and the sarsens from nearby Marlborough Downs, each represents a community's commitment to a larger whole. In their combination, these diverse elements created not just a monument, but a shared identity that transcended local differences. Today, as visitors from around the world stand in awe before these ancient stones, they're witnessing more than an archaeological curiosity. They're seeing evidence of humanity's oldest and most enduring insight, that our greatest achievements come not from isolation, but from connection. Not from emphasizing our differences, but from pooling our unique contributions toward common goals. Stonehenge stands not just as a wonder of the ancient world, but as a challenge to our modern sensibilities. If people with stone tools and fiber ropes could collaborate across hundreds of miles to create something that has endured for 5 millennia, what might we achieve if we approached our global challenges with the same spirit of cooperation? The true magic of Stonehenge isn't in its astronomical alignments or engineering precision, impressive though these are. The true magic lies in what it tells us about ourselves, that the capacity to transcend our differences and work together towards something greater is encoded in our very DNA. It's a lesson written in stone, waiting for us to rediscover it after 5,000 years of standing silent on Salisbury Plain. As we continue to unravel the mysteries of Stonehenge through advancing technology and methodical research, we're not just learning about our past, we're uncovering a blueprint for our future, one where diversity becomes strength when directed towards shared purpose. In this sense, Stonehenge isn't just an ancient monument, it's a message from our ancestors, reminding us of what humans can accomplish when united by a common vision. The story of the altar stone, transported with immense effort across hundreds of miles to take its place at the heart of Britain's most iconic monument, serves as both inspiration and challenge. It asks us to consider what we might be willing to contribute to projects larger than ourselves, and what legacies we hope to leave for the generations that will follow us. In the end, perhaps that's the most important lesson Stonehenge has to teach us, that the monuments we build today, whether physical structures or social institutions, will be judged not just by their grandeur, but by their ability to bring diverse people together in common cause. 5,000 years from now, what will our descendants say about what we built? Will they marvel, as we do at Stonehenge, at our capacity for cooperation across differences? Or will they wonder why we failed to learn the lessons so clearly written in stone?